Hey there, Eurus here, and welcome to Community Life. Here we talk with amazing humans from the community world about their life journeys and learn from each other. And today we have a conversation with Viktorija Ignataviciute, an experienced gingerbread house creator, a great community leader and advocate, and explorer and intensive traveler who can come back a year older after just a few days trip and allows herself to be silly and joyful with no day offs. So, hello, Victoria.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for this introduction. I feel like I learned a bit about myself. I also got some questions about myself, so not sure if it's good, but
Already,
definitely
already.
interesting. Yeah,
Like just we just started and you already have questions. It's amazing.
I
And
do.
are you a Linkin Park fan?
So I want to say yes. I am a proud, whoever says whatever, I am still a proud Linkin Park fan. Of course, the original Linkin Park, and I did have an honor to be at their concert once upon a time when I
Oh,
was,
wow.
I think it was 2008. They had a concert in Vilnius, which is very strange because usually many bands come to Lithuania when they are like retiring nearly, but they were still very hyped then. So yeah, I saw them then, and I am still a fan to this day.
What feelings did you have while visiting Meteora?
Wow. Well, so one thing is, I guess, the aspect of like a bit of fear of heights and kind of thinking how that would be. Because if you look at a picture, if anyone has been to Meta already know, but if you like Google, it looks awesome. But you can also see that that is for a reason called Meteora, and these kind of formations, these rocks, do seem scary. And I'm not like a rock climber or anything like this. I like nature, but in reality, I am very much a city girl. So it's not like I come there with my gear, and my super shoes and my super muscles or something like that. So I was a bit worried, just like how it's gonna go. But being there, it just felt like super super awesome, and I kind of even um, did go on this kind of like rock that seemed to be quite steep, and I feel like I would never do that, but I did. I have a picture from there. Maybe that's how you know it. But that was really, really nice. I would love to go back. Oh, and the food, of course.
Did you listen to Meteora album while being there?
Oh my God, this is perfect. I need to go back and do that, honestly. No, but I haven't. We were like, it's a Greek trip and Greek music, Greek taverna, these vibes. But yeah, I now I have to go back and do that. It's a brilliant idea. I'm gonna steal it and I'm gonna do that.
An explorer in you. Is it inherent from birth or acquired through a lifetime?
I love okay, so I'm gonna pause on this one to reflect a bit. I like the question, but in this question, it kind of assumes that I'm an explorer, and I don't necessarily, I don't know if I necessarily am. Like, I like to explore in general, maybe, and I like these new things, and kind of I get very hyped about some experiences, I guess, new experiences. But I'm also very like fearful and many times anxious person, which is a little bit like anti-explorer features, right? Like someone being brave and just like exploring. So that said, I don't know. I think I had probably both since birth, more or less. Like the anxious part and the curious part, and I'm just like balancing maybe between one or another kind of side overtaking at times, so probably both. But then over time I think I also did gain kind of experiences that made me just see things broader, and this way kind of allow myself to explore more. You know what I mean? Like when you're little, your world is so small and you just don't think that something is possible for you, and then when you grow you're like, oh, there's just like so many things I actually can do, and it's possible for me personally as an individual, not for someone else, but actually I could as well have that experience or do that activity. So a little bit of both, probably.
When was the first time you went abroad?
So what is abroad? Because I have an interesting I have an interesting, I guess, well, family history in that sense. So I did travel between countries because of that, technically, since I was very little. But as they were neighboring countries, you wouldn't perceive it as abroad, but technically they were different countries. And then maybe more as an adolescence or kind of like a teen, perhaps. I traveled first time abroad, maybe by plane. I could categorize it that way.
Okay.
Um, when I was maybe 14, I think.
What was that trip?
Oh, it was Turkey, because my mom, as a working person, which then I couldn't understand, she just wanted for her trip and for her vacation to go someplace where there's a pool or a sea, sit down, do nothing, have all inclusive, no cooking, no dishwashing. I was getting bored, of course, because when you're 14 or 15, maybe it's not kind of like the most exciting way to spend your holiday. So this was my first, I guess, travel experience.
Tell me a story of how border control turned into an adventure.
Border control turned into an adventure. Well, did I say I have a bad memory? Should I put that as a disclaimer? Like, there's tons of things in my life that I don't remember, not because I was maybe under influence of anything, but just kind of for the aspect of fading of the memory. So I would need to think about it. Where did I go even? That there was a border control.
Maybe with some mountains included. I don't know.
Mountains included, border control. Well, mm, I'm not sure. I mean, it's something that comes to my mind, but there isn't a story there. It was just like some weirdness, some kind of like border patrol situation, but it wasn't anything major. Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe you can inform me about my experiences. It could be like a possibility to ruminate on.
I wanted to learn more about this because I saw in one of your posts that like you wrote that even border control turns into an adventure. So I wanted to learn more because I had a very similar experience because one time I was like going through borders and definitely when you're moving somewhere from Ukraine you have to have visa. At least it was before, and now it's even harder. And the fun thing that we were traveling with my mom by train and the visa started the next day and we were going like at 10 p.m. crossing the border, so they took us off train just because visa is starting in 2 hours. So I was thinking maybe you had something similar and we can relate, and talk about it together because sometimes it's super crazy. I can imagine if that time I was feeling like I'm some kind of I want to do some risky things, like I'm in a movie, I'm a spy or whatever, and they took me, but no, it was crazy. But yeah, I I just wanted to uh, talk more about it. So for how long can you sit in one place without discovering something new?
Not long, probably not long. And the reason for that is unknowingly or maybe even unwillingly, I oftentimes discover something new like in my head. So if it's not in my environment, then I'm just gonna go, gonna go the loop of the head work, and I'm probably gonna discover something new. Like, again, observing the people, something I did mention before, is a big one. And kind of this way, I feel like I explore, like I feed off that, and then I think for example, the other day I see a family kind of like dining in a cafe where I was working from, and then I just look at them and like there are maybe relationship dynamic, the way the child is behaving, thinking, oh my god, this little boy is so annoying. Looking how they're dealing with that, and then thinking myself like, oh, interesting how parents and children build their relationship, and so on. Like I go a lot into that. Like, I take it as an inspiration, and then there's a whole journey of thought of like train of thoughts following kind of in my head, and I explore, oh, what about this idea, what about this thought. So there's a lot of that kind of back end work.
Let's start from the beginning. So tell me about your parents. Who are they?
Who are they? They are wonderful people. They are people I'm grateful that they chose to bring me into this world. People who, in many ways, shaped me for the good and for the bad of it, right? So, it's a mix. And right now, I would say that my mom is also my travel buddy occasionally. So she's also that. She's many things. I did lose my dad quite early in the childhood, so kind of I feel like I missed out a lot of on the opportunity to make more memories and experiences together with him. But I think one key thing about kind of both of my parents, and maybe something I want to say I adopted in me, I guess, or try to practice in my life also. Maybe it is that exploration part, but also like having fun and looking at everything for the kind of like lens, a bit of humor, whether it is, work, relationship, activities, just being like silly, even if it's at home, nothing spectacular is happening, but then you have like a whole circus and all the fun shenanigans. So to me, they are these people to me.
How did you feel watching your dad setting up fireworks?
It's something that I have as a very, very cool memory from childhood, because it's something that he was like a fireworks master, if I can say that. And when we were traveling to our relatives in another place, another city for New Year's, he was, the pyrotechnic. I don't know if that's the right word in English, right? So he was known for that. And so all the children of that area, because we were not from there, were coming for the New Year's celebration. They were then coming out, all the families, and they were just like waiting for the big event happen again in a small town, in a small place, of course. So we were just like really, I mean, he was very invested in his fireworks. That's what I'm saying. But again, that was like very many years ago. I think that currently, when I see somebody setting up fireworks, I more think about their safety, the security. The perspective has changed. But then I felt very excited and also a little bit proud. Like, he's my dad, like everybody would love to have this dad with all these fireworks. But it was my dad. I was like, cool, let's do this fireworks.
How frequently do you speak to your mother?
Every day. Every day. Yeah.
What is one thing you won't be discussing with your mother?
More than one thing. More than one thing. But I definitely kind of probably, I think I'm curious what you have in mind. I don't know, can you tell that? Can you disclose later? But what comes to mind, I probably wouldn't be talking to her maybe so much about, well, actually work even right now. But in the past, I was probably talking to her about like literally everything when I was like much, much younger. So I was talking to her about a lot of things. And with time, I guess that's kind of just like comes down to a little bit more, private life becomes your private life. You share, I guess, a bit less of that too.
Yeah, exactly. It's better be careful. You never know. You never know. Why are you a cat person?
Is it a choice? I don't think it's a choice. I don't think you can choose to be or not to be a cat person. It's just like you are a cat person, same like you don't choose to have a cat or not to have. Cat chooses you, and
It chooses you, exactly.
and they have you, right? So for me, I definitely, I'm proud a cat person. I love dogs. I'm not gonna say I'm not like, I'm gonna use the space to say it out loud. I think it's important. I do think that dog people have that kind of rival with cat people in their minds, and they always want to highlight why is it better to have a dog and how dogs are better than cats, for example. And I feel like as a cat person, you're so confident and self-sufficient in your choices and in your preferences that I'm like, I don't need to, prove anyone anything. But I love my cats because they are very unique and very like each has its own character. It's not the same. It doesn't work. You can't behave with like different cats in the same way.
Yeah.
You have to find like a separate, different approach to this cat. You build a unique relationship with this cat, like with a person. I'm not saying you don't do with a dog, but there are certain things that work for all dogs. Well, cats, I feel that they are just closer to my heart in that way, and also they like their space and they appreciate your space and also their space. So it's like you don't have to be 24/7 just like giving and giving and giving to this well, another creature, right, that is your companion. You can have a break and they actually want to have a break from you as well. So just so genuine, I guess. They're just very genuine. They can't pretend, they will never pretend. So I appreciate that.
It's interesting because that you mentioned about characters, and I was super impressed. I've never thought about this through whole my life unless I had my two dogs, and they're totally different. Like every animal I had their own character, such as people, such as humans, and I was like, oh wow, I've never thought about that. And I feel like it's a cat or dog person, just depends on what kind of animal you've met in your life. Because if you met a dog and you loved it, you're most likely a dog person. If you met a cat and you loved it, and vice versa. If you had a bad cat experience or bad dog experience, yeah, maybe it doesn't work. So I feel like it's like having this war, either you're Android or iOS person. So it's pretty much the same. And I wonder, do you still think that home is where your cat lives?
Yes, but I guess an extension of that is that probably now I think that also home is where my partner lives. So it extended from cat to just like, but because the cats live with my partner too. So I guess it becomes kind of overlaps. It overlaps. There's a correlation between the two. But yeah, I think it's a very reflective, for me, very reflective aspect of having lived, for example, in different countries, and people ask, oh, where did you maybe like to live more, or how is your experience there or there? And yeah, for me, I think it always came down to this exactly, like, where do you feel warm, cozy, good, safe? And that could be many different places, but it's about your experience. So to me, yes, like there's my cat. I love to cuddle with them, and it's my home then, right?
Are you a statistics person?
A good question. I don't think so. I don't think I'm a statistics person, but I definitely love my statistics. Now, it's not necessarily scientific statistics that I like. For example, since I was a child, I always loved tests, those in magazines. That's not a statistics, but it's about like categorizing, right? It's about somehow putting some frameworks, applying some kind of structure to things. So probably then later in life, when I discovered statistics, there was some appeal to that level, but I am very, the humanitarian kind of person. So I think it would be just like a really, really disingenuous to say that I'm a statistics person. If I faced real statistics, I would probably, scream and run away like super, super quickly. But I appreciate good statistics. Yeah.
Where those tests like what kind of animal are you?
What kind of animal for sure? What kind of, well, introvert, extrovert, or the kind of like characteristics like the um phlegmatic, right? Choleric, sanguinic. I don't know if that's still a thing, but back in the day it was a thing. The Myers-Briggs personality types, that's a little bit leveling up, getting a bit more complex, fancy, but still a test essentially. These things. Of course, there was also the part of which celebrity are you most like, or something like this. Which color is your color, and what does it mean? Yeah. all that.
Yeah, I can remember, I had some kind of journal back then, like magazine, and it was, and I feel like I received it in my mailbox weekly, and it always was one or two tests, like when you have a question, yes, no, you have a question, yes, no, you have, and then a result. So I totally get it. And I feel like it was my favorite part of this, magazine, because like immediately when I've got it, it was almost the last page or something like that. I opened it immediately on that page, and I think, oh, okay, what test do I have today? So yeah, it's super curious, but you know, they were also so fun, because like, what kind of animal are you? Like, I don't know, it's so
Then you
crazy.
compare with your friend, no, what kind of animal
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are,
exactly,
and you're like
exactly.
reading, like, yeah, that sounds like you, or that sounds like it's like horoscope, like a little bit, but definitely more interactive, more fun. And I remember like related to this when I first, did for kind of like had opportunity, let's say, within work environment to create that, like I think it's called a flow chart type of yes, no, and you want to, let's say, promote an event or something. So use it as a strategy, be like, is it event for you? And answer these questions. And I was doing it, and my child, my inner child was just like singing, and like, because once upon a time I was doing these tests, like I mean, as a user, and now I have a chance to like create this this test myself. So that's really fun.
What is your
We should
favorite
make one.
yeah, by the way, I feel like I've also made few back then, and I I don't remember who exactly, but someone created this test in the community world, like what kind of community builder are you, or something like that. And I remember we had conversation like, oh, it would be amazing if someone could do this test for community builders, and someone done this, and it was like a year ago or 2 years ago. I don't even remember where exactly to find it, but I feel like it was fun. So yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about. And I'm curious, what is your favorite holiday?
Christmas, 100%.
Why?
Uh, it's perfect. It's for me. Yeah, it's 100% Christmas, all the way Christmas. I love the decoration. I love the coziness of it. I love how the cities look. So usually, again, where I'm from, right? I guess when you're from Australia or somewhere else, right? Christmas is a very different experience. But where I'm from, it's usually snow. It's usually getting dark, like sunset is 3:30 p.m. You didn't even get back from school yet, and it's already night. So you get a lot of darkness, you get a lot of cold, maybe snow, maybe rain. And so the cities, they just become these like beautiful, illuminated places. The decoration at home as well. I love decorating my home. I love decorating Christmas tree. I love packing presents, thinking about presents. Obviously spending time with my loved ones, but kind of the whole season. So I really extended, it's not just like about Christmas Day that I like, oh, I love Christmas, so I love the couple of days that there are. Like Christmas is an experience that is around month long, at least.
What tradition do you have for Christmas time? Something that you keep doing every holiday, every Christmas, no matter what.
Well, no matter what, probably would not be the right way to apply it, because I do skip it time to time. Well, there is one thing that I definitely go back home to where I'm from. That's something that has been consistent. So probably in my whole life, it has been just one Christmas that I spent kind of without my family, somewhere else abroad when I was living, and it was, too expensive kind of, and too far to go back to for Christmas at that time. So that's something I will do, definitely. And I definitely also gonna use it as a chance to bake something nice, to do something nice. And it was for a few years until I had to skip once upon a time because I just didn't have a time and opportunity to do this. But for a few years, I was baking like gingerbread cookies, and I have done such a huge amount of them that there was not a possibility to actually consume it, in a household. But then I don't want to throw them. So I think, okay, who can I share it with? And then we bring it to like different places, some friends, some family. But there's still many more cookies, right? I was very crazy about these cookies. And then I decided to like pack them individually, and I was throwing it into the post boxes, like in the building, in my building. So the neighbors kind of like found a cookie, would find a cookie in their post box, just one. Because now there was too few cookies for all the neighbors to have more than one, so that was like a thing that I did for quite actually a few consecutive years, and it was super cute because then there's also like a Facebook group of people like living in these houses, and they would share it, but I made it anonymous, right? So they wouldn't know who was the person doing it. So I was like, oh my god, it was super awesome to see them share it and be like, whoever did it, thank you and happy holidays. So I was like, yeah, that makes me happy.
And you kept your secret.
Yes, until now, actually. But luckily, they're not gonna watch this probably, so my
Okay,
secret is safe with me.
I can
And you?
imagine next day after this conversation is out, somebody messaging, ah, it was you.
All the way. I knew it. You did look too happy when I saw you, around the post boxes sneaking. I actually would like sneak, be like, when people are no people, okay, tick, 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 hide my face because there's a camera as well. Just, I know, maybe it sounds creepy when I say it now out loud, but it's all for the good cause.
Tell me a story of your alpaca walk birthday adventure.
So it was around the pandemic times. And so there was, limited things you could be doing. And of course, most of these things would need to be outdoor, of course, desirably, ideally. And that was one of very, very nice, cool activities that actually my partner like organized for me as a surprise. So I didn't know. And if you see these photos, I would say I'm dressed a little bit nicer than for the alpaca walk, if I can say that.
You didn't
So
know. You didn't know.
I didn't know. And I was asking, like, how should I dress? What are we gonna do? Where are we going? He's like, oh, it's fine. Is it okay like this? Yeah, it's okay. Well, everyone has the different judgment of what's acceptable or not for alpaca. So that's what I'm saying. I was a little bit too well dressed, I guess, for that walk. Nonetheless, it went perfectly. It was super fun. I found out that's going back to explorer and anxious person mix. I did find out that I'm a little bit afraid of animals that are like taller than me when they're in a close proximity to me, even if they're as cute as alpacas are. And one of them, I think there were alpacas, and there were also a couple of llamas who were, more aggressive and more territorial and more spitting at you. They didn't spit at me, but there was that kind of tension that you have to be like looking around. Where's the llama? Where's the alpacas? Like, where are they coming? So it wasn't as cute as you could think, but it was super, super fun. And we went on a walk. I was assigned a very also like calm and nice behaving alpaca. And another child was also assigned a similar character alpaca. So you see, I was at the level of I guess of a child when it comes to distribution of alpacas to have a walk with, because some of them could, for example, try to run away. They're like testing your boundaries, and I would probably be just like screaming and letting it run. So yeah, that was really fun. I want to go back because they were also shaved at that time already, at that time of the year, and I would love to see them in their fluffy state too.
What happened with this crazier alpaca? So I feel like you had like more calm one, but did anyone had like crazy alpaca walk?
Not completely crazy, because of course there's like a supervisor kind of like walking with you, so everybody would have like an individual one, and we would go to the forest. They would eat well around the forest, kind of like there's a pre-forest field, so it would be generally a nice walk for alpacas, most importantly, and then you kind of get to join them in their daily walk. That's the way it's organized. And the good alpacas, the good alpacas,
That's a good.
are just like minding, they're just walking on their walk, letting you walk with them basically, because that leash is just for you to hold on, nothing much more than that. And then they're following the group and eating their grass. But those more fierce ones would do the pulling. So you would need to be, first of all, ready to like handle that pulling at any point. I guess never overly relaxed, and always, deal like with the dog sometimes, maybe just like it's a bigger animal. So yeah, you gotta be just like ready to handle that pulling. And I don't know about maybe also biting a little bit. That could be too. But that was it. Luckily, no children, no alpacas were harmed in that walk.
I can imagine the advertisement like, do you want to test your limits? Do you want to find your stress level? Like, do it. Like, where is your power? Like, face alpaca. I can imagine that.
And it's totally the kind of illustration of do not judge the book by its cover. So, I mean, as a child, especially there were like, of course, many children, families with children, and even as an adult, I could say, before you met them and you face them, you just think of them as like super, super cute, soft creatures, but they're actually animals with their character. Like we said, some are different characters, right? So they also take that same different approach that the dogs require or the cats require. They're like characters, self-sustainable personalities, actually.
I have a very fun story about Dalmatian dog, and it was this movie, this cartoon, like 101 Dalmatians, and they were nice and etc. etc. But in the reality, they are not that nice dogs. And once I remember I was running, and it was fun. It was like an early morning, and there are not that many people around. And I see Dalmatian run into me, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we'll just hug, etc." But and I see that somewhere like far far away, like a person running also to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, Dalmatian. And I see he like growling at me and like barking and like want to bite me, and I'm like, okay, not that fun. So yeah, I totally get what you're talking about.
It's one of many times that mainstream media and movies failed us.
Crazy. And
Totally wrong expectations.
totally, and I know you have a great voice. So how often do you openly sing for others?
Kind of never, nearly never. Openly to others. Probably last time I've done that, like others meaning people I don't know, for example, including people I don't know. So that probably was 6 years ago, maybe, give or take. But I do sing for maybe myself, kind of more often, but not that frequently. I kind of gave up my career for a very brief moment. I technically did belong to a band, and it was a very short career.
Why?
Well, first of all, they were much older than I, and they were looking like, so they were older musicians, and they were looking to establish like a project to be offering music services, like live music services for like restaurants, or that kind of like maybe hotel reception experiences. And they were looking for girls to join to sing, mostly covers. And I was offered to join. And yeah, they just had like a very specific, I guess, expectation as to how it should sound, what kind of music that should be, right? So it was very, very not as creative as you could, expect or imagine or dream of when you are never, you never had like experience like this before. So yeah, I think eventually our ways parted. Oh, and there was a very very important, small, but very, very important thing. The rehearsals were super far away. So they had to, like, somebody on the way was picking me up by car. And they were super early because they were all older people in the on the Saturday. And for them, waking up, 6 o'clock and going to rehearsal at 7 in the morning, it was totally cool. Well, for me, I am not very much a morning person, and I wasn't necessarily, in a mental position to do that at this time of the day as well. I think that made an impact. Like it made it worse for me. I was definitely more grumpy. So I ended up, let's say, quitting. Although we never had a performance, we only had like rehearsals. So
But did you want to be a singer?
when I was very young, I think I did. Like quite typically, I guess I did dream of being some mix of singer, actor, singer, dancer, actress, of course, all of them, right? Like not one of them, but all of them. Although singing was definitely like the closest to me, but there's this active performer, I guess, most of all. That was a brief moment, and so I did have some kind of also performance at school type of situation, right? Back then. And I think around kind of like teens, it was just maybe this, I guess, breaking moment. Either you go do something about it for real, meaning like get education, get training, because realistically, you can have, I guess, like some kind of talent or inclination towards music or singing or playing an instrument. But if you don't develop that, you're just like gonna be by default, I guess, below average. Let's put it that way. So it's just gonna be difficult to improve or kind of like to even enter the space later on. So in my case, I guess didn't have opportunity or environment around me to kind of develop in this phase. So I guess I just like shifted away from it, and it stayed like as some passion of mine or like a party trick type of ability, a little bit, maybe.
I recently saw a TikTok and it was super fun. Like this girl, oh, I don't know, I can't play piano. I don't know how to do that. Then she sits and plays like perfectly. And I can imagine, somebody like, hey, Victoria, can you sing some? I don't know. I don't know how to sing. And then you just take the mic and like everyone is amazed.
That could be a possibility. Um, Reminds me of Ugly Coyotes movie for some reason. But I do have this huge fear of stage, I think. So it would be probably in reality, not in a movie, but I would probably like, pass on that offer. But it could be fun to imagine.
How do you get inspired by nature?
Well, nature is very rich, but also very silent at the same time. So for me, maybe it's kind of just this connection, I guess, to yourself, maybe even to your childhood, because probably as a child, I had more opportunities to spend time in nature, and kind of maybe this unlocks a little bit that kind of more careless or carefree part of you that is just exactly exploring, that is not that you're a lot of it is also about spending time and doing something that is not any goal or purpose driven, like you're not doing it to complete something, to do something, you're just there, you're just hanging. So it could be just one of the ways that I could probably say that I get inspiration from this. It also is an open field, so it doesn't feel open field, well, open forest or open space. It doesn't feel so like constricting, because sometimes I feel like it's very tiring to live in a box and then commute in some other box to reach another box, and then cities are also like are just so crowded. So maybe it's me, well, actually my partner calls me sometimes like a forest person, but not because I would spend a lot of time in the forest, but like more I belong to the forest from the way I am, I guess, as a person. So there's that aspect of freedom too, and creativity.
Where is your love of baking from?
It definitely did start earlier than that, but it certainly bloomed in the pandemic. I think for many people who discovered their secret inner bakers, So that was definitely like the love. It probably kind of came about around that time. Maybe it's also because I got a kitchen that it was available to me because I was living before in a lot of like rentals and kind of like not your home and traveling places or moving places, countries. I never wanted to also, create a lot of that like physical wealth, if you call baking forms wealth. But you know what I mean. To like, it takes equipment basically to do baking. It takes equipment, and so I didn't have that equipment and I didn't want to get it. So I just wasn't baking. Plus, I would live with some kind of flatmates. So then you can't occupy kitchen for too long. You need to do all the cleaning and stuff. So when I had kind of like my own, in that sense, right, like kitchen where I could be for hours and maybe my partner would come and be like, are you done yet? You've been here for 5 hours. Can I make a tea? I'll be like, sure, you are granted the permission to make tea, and here's some space for you to make a sandwich. But jokes aside, I think feeling that I was exactly like in a good environment and I had definitely time. It was one of the activities that I started loving doing. I totally went crazy about it, honestly. And at some point, probably I was doing something like every day and I was just experimenting a lot. I started learning about it, watching YouTube videos, reading, and really, not just like doing something to taste, but doing something to create. And to me, that was just like an awesome opportunity to also do something with your hands. Again, that is not like internet, virtual, or laptop like related work. And I love that. Like, and then creating something and having it as a material creation that you can see and then you can taste, and you did it. It's pretty freaking rewarding stuff.
Do you have a fixed equipment or do you purchase some new things over time?
Again, over the pandemic, over the few years, I did get a lot of equipment. Like, again, not super professional. I'm sure, people who bake, they probably own more stuff than I do. But I did start, like, first I got, just a couple of extra cupcake pans. And then I got these donut pans. And then I got these flower looking like pans. And then I got that mixer. And so it accumulated over time. It wasn't all at once, but kind of like, yeah, in a few years, I got quite a lot of different pans and kind of like different piping equipment for different techniques, for different type of dessert, not only baking, right? Like there's a no baking dessert culture and then section. So then the cookie cutters. Oh my God, the cookie cutters. You could just keep getting them. Recently, I got cookie cutters that are like different kitties. It's beautiful. So
So, are cookies your favorite dish to cook, to bake?
certainly not, because I don't love eating cookies myself so much. Um, it's also much more kind of simple, I guess, or one of the more simple. Not to discount making cookies, but it is more simple, right? It's like it's a quicker thing. When you want to decorate it, like depends what you want to the cookies for and what kind of cookies. So I do enjoy cookies that are to be decorated or you do the cookie cutting. So that's kind of like more my preferred maybe cookies, but again, not for eating so much, but for the experience of creativity that it allows you. Yeah, but I do love making cakes, probably the most. Like I don't get to do it often nowadays, maybe once, twice a year, really. But the cakes that are like they have layers, there's cream or like chocolate ganache or some kind of like filling. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into detail, but yeah, like the multi-layer thing, the one that takes days to make, meaning that first they have to like bake the cake sheet, so to say, like this the sponge, let's call it, and then the next day or later, when depending on the time you started, you assemble it with like all the fillings into the whole thing, and then the following day you do the decorations, you do the coating, so it's like becomes 2-3 day thing operation, I would say.
Do you
Operation Cake.
Do you have one favorite cake, or do you do maybe different ones all the time?
I kind of try to do different ones all the time, and probably there are very few things that I have done like same thing multiple times, and that goes back to the exploration and kind of like trying something new, different technique, different flavor, experimenting. So yeah, I usually try to sometimes the most favorite ones I try to replicate or I do repeat, but yeah, it's more about for me trying, I think, different things, new challenges. Yeah,
Why attitude is everything?
because it is. It kind of is. It's everything, and it's about attitude in everything and anything, right? So the way you approach attitude towards yourself, towards others, towards a situation, towards a challenge, it kind of like really is probably defines everything. It's like the another movie, all old movie references today. The butterfly effect, is that what it's called, right? So it's like you have this attitude, it's the smallest attitude. We're not talking about the attitude. It's like a small instant reaction to certain things and the choices you're gonna make subconsciously, not even like the major choices we're making, but those little small, a million of small choices we do go we have to make basically going through our day. This is it. So in general, it's, I guess, the attitude that defines that, especially those subconscious choices you make.
What is your attitude in life?
Let's say this way. I would probably want to say positive, but not overly positive. Um, so I'm not the most positive person you will ever meet. I definitely sometimes am maybe even intentionally anti-positive or against positivity, counterbalancing the positive, not with the negative, but kind of like with reality. Like things suck and things aren't good and things make me upset and frustrated and things may be bad, situations may be bad. So I kind of stay on that side of things in terms of positivity. I do think it's important to feel that there's hope, to keep the hope that it will get better, or I can do something to make it better, or there is a shadow of, even in a bad situation, there is something positive, a learning, an opportunity, there's something. So that in that regard, I would say like keeping it positive, meaning like not being completely maybe crushed by something, even if it feels like I am in that moment, but knowing inside of me that somehow I will come out of it eventually, or somebody else will come out of it, or the situation will resolve. So positive, I guess, in this way, and silly and fun. That's my attitude. Like silly, I think inside of me very deeply, and many times I'm not able to, kind of like express it in many opportunities in your life or maybe places in your life. Like, I would love to be more that, but like I guess inside of me deeply, it's just very silly and fun. That's the attitude, to make fun from like everything around you, like the small things, the silly stuff. I think this is what kind of makes it worth it at the end.
What is one silly thing that you've done recently?
Silly things I do constantly. I do dress weirdly a lot of times. Recently, I've been doing very strange makeup. I didn't put on today just to not have people, getting a wrong
I'm
impression of
freaking
me.
out.
Yeah. I'd be like, whoa, what's that? But yeah, so doing weird makeup, wearing weird clothes combination when you feel like it, um, creating songs. So like not the actual songwriting, of course. Please excuse me, all the songwriters of the world, but just like getting some beat and some kind of like catchphrase and creating a song out of it and singing it to my cats, to my partner. Sometimes these songs are about them. And so that's like definitely very, very silly thing I do. Dancing when you're doing your groceries, like in a grocery store, a little like move, a little dance, thinking about it that, maybe a person on the other side of the camera, because like security, somebody watches over that grocery store. So they would be watching, and maybe you see move like this. Plus, they play music in these grocery stores all the time for some reason. So I just give them, like a little show, and maybe they smile, and everybody has a better day. So these kind of silly things, not like extremely stupid stuff, right? Like not life endangering stuff, but these little kind of silly things.
And like you've told that you're creating the song out of some usual phrases, and I don't know why, but you just reminded me this recent summer heat. I'm looking for a man in finance. So maybe that's how like it's the future of songwriting. So maybe you're just going to the next level already.
Ahead of the trends, for sure.
Exactly. So I have this previous guest question. If you were stranded on an uninhabited island, what is one thing you would take with you and why?
I like that this is one of these old school questions, I feel like this
Old
is the
school, yeah, exactly.
you feel it's one of those, yeah.
That makes you think, and you like why, and like what would I really take? But I feel like yeah, I'm asking you just this question just because of silliness and fun. So
Yeah, this is why what I'm saying is like old school question, because I feel like it's one of those questions that there always has been this question, it's one of those chicken or egg, what would you take to an island? It's one of those questions. I love these questions. If it's available, I guess, because there's no restriction, because it's just a question, I would take my cat, or can I take few cats? And then yeah, that would be my best choice.
Victor, I wish to have the sky as the limit to our conversation, but time is the limit. So let's jump to the rapid fire questions. So, sunny or rainy day?
Sunny.
Italy or Greece?
Italy.
What are your favorite color and song?
Purple and Purple Rain.
If you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
Super bake.
Super vague.
I could bake the bad guys.
Who do you learn from? Name just one person.
My grandma.
Name two people whom I should definitely reach out to and have this conversation with.
My grandma. I mean, she would be cool. She's not in a community, but OG community for sure. Yeah, two people. Name two people. Actually, you spoke to so many people. Can I just give you that? Like, what is it? Like
It's
100
not.
to 200?
It's not like It's not like you have to guess someone who I didn't have a conversation with, but like from your perspective, who would you like to hear about?
Well, I would love to hear about someone. Sorry, I'm just not good with maybe names, so it won't come like on top of my mind right now. But I would love to hear about someone maybe living in very, say, a bit maybe exotic for this industry, more exotic countries or regions. Maybe to hear about life of a community person somewhere living in a jungle. If there's this person, please, give us a shout. Like, yeah, I would love to know more about lives of people from different regions, maybe Asia, maybe Africa, maybe South America. So yeah, I know a few. I could send you the links, but I'm not gonna call names now.
Got it. Got it. Ask it forward. It's like pay it forward, but with questions. So ask a question a future guest will have to answer.
Right. So I'm gonna ask a very, like we said about the tests and all these things. So I'm gonna just ask like, what if you were a plant? What kind of plant would you be and why?
Is there one question that I definitely should have asked you but didn't?
There probably are. Doesn't mean I would love to answer all of those questions, but maybe there could be questions you could have asked. But no, I love this conversation. I love these questions, and that's, I guess, the whole point of it, that they were the right questions in the right moment. They were right just because they were right. Like
They are
it's
just
enough,
today. It's just
right?
questions. It's just a conversation. It's something.
Yes,
It's like you are having a conversation with a friend, and you just asking, those questions. You just
exactly.
sharing your stories, and uh, yeah, that's exactly how you get to know another person better. Because like when we have this professional podcasts and webinars, like you can guess what the next question will be, because there are always the same questions, and like it's just hard. But it's your life, like there are so many stories to tell, and I will definitely try to I will ask you to recall this story about the border experience. I don't know when it was, how it was, but I will keep in loop. I still want to hear the story from you. So please check your memory, and
Check your memory. It's a good advice. Just like check your memory.
I will ask it. And yeah, Victoria, thank you very much for having this conversation. And I feel like we had pretty similar childhood, with those like it's this like Eastern Europe style, I would say, pretty much. Like you,
Experience,
you
yeah.
you were talking about New Year, and now it's Christmas, but I feel like before it was the New Year, the main holiday. So I totally get you. And it's just so amazing for me personally to you know understand you and get you better as a human, because we were for so long in this community space, and I'm like, but wait, who is really Victoria? I really want to know her better. And yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and yeah, for having this fun together today.
Thank you, and thank you for letting me and everyone else to get to know you as well. I feel like you said about the questions that people asked. One thing is you could guess another question, but also the answers somehow become repetitive over time too. And also, are the same person going to like different, avenues and public talks, and they kind of maybe they don't want that, but they got their answer already, so it just like comes out in a very similar way, right? It's not going to be a different answer to that same question every time. And the truth is, we're so much more, I think, than our work. And that's why I love this idea and this concept of what you're doing too. So thank you for letting me to meet other people as well.
Thank you God damn it, I'm losing my words. So yeah, thank you very much, Victoria, and see you in the community world.